Hello and welcome back to Unicorn Plant Society. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing some potting mixture. So I'll show you from scratch my potting mixture I use in here and I'll show you how to make it. That's the soilless mixture that I use. I'm also going to show you some plants that I've picked up this week. So first up, we've got the philodendron Jerry Horn. I just picked this one up. So this one is a very long leaf philodendron. If you Google it, the leaves look amazing. I can't wait to get this one onto a pole and see how it grows. The next one I've got is the philodendron soderii. I'm not exactly sure how that one's pronounced. Soderii. So this one gets really big wide leaves with that little bits of like silvery speckles in them. Really can't wait to see this one as well on a pole. I also picked up a little sick plant, which is the blue star fern, $4 from 12, bargain. So what I've done is just peeled off all the dead leaves and I've given it a little bit of water, so we'll see how this one grows. I'll keep you updated on that. I'll do an upgrade on all the ferns I've actually picked up because I was never a fern collector and now I've got about 4. The next one I got, which was just after my last video last week, is the white knight. So white knight, not white. There's white wizard, white princess, white knight. They're the 3 I know of. So this is the white knight and this is the white princess. So this one I've had for a while. I've just picked up this. Really the only difference I can see is the princess has a green stem and the knight has a dark stem. So I'll probably pot them up next to each other and just watch them grow, see which ones, what they do, whether they grow, which one grows faster. So I'll keep you updated on them. Also, I went and saw my mum last night. She's made a little macrame, another macrame for me. This one's a beautiful teal pot holder. So I'll find a plant to put in this one. She's gone crazy now. I told her your comments saying that you liked her work and now she's made shelves and little door things and she's loving it. So thank you. Also, I had a comment last week on how to pronounce this plant. So this one I put onto a poll last week and it's philodendron Tahiti. I was pronouncing it all other ways. So thank you very much for that. Any help with pronouncing? Because we know I'm the greatest. All right, my name is Ricky and let's start the soil. All right, so these are the ingredients that I use in the mixture. They're all found at Bunnings, quite readily available, so real easy to get. And then you just put them all in and the mixture's made. So we'll start off, we've got the charcoal, vermiculite, perlite, sand. So this is heavy. So that sand I'm doing a little different last time Last time I used the fine sand. This time I'm using the coarse sand. So it's just a little bit more thicker, allow for that drainage. Next up is, I can't lift this from this angle, volcanic red rock. These are just these type of rocks. All the little porous holes in them hold moisture. So even once your water's drained through, these tiny little holes will keep water in them and the roots can find it and absorb it. And lucky last is the base of the mixture. This is the peat core. So that's the base of the mixture. I break that down first, wet it up, get it really nice and moist. And then I add everything else to it. There is 3 different types of this. There's a real fine, medium, which is this one. And then there's also a really coarse one, which is thick bark type. This is the one I prefer. It's easy to work with. It's got a bit of thickness to it. You do get some chunks of bark in it, which are pretty cool. And that's the ingredients. So now I'll get on to mixing them up for you. So I've just broken out some of the peat core. This is it when you break it off. What I do is I just make up enough for the plant that I'm going to do, or the couple of plants that I'm going to do at a time. So this is going to be ample for one plant that I'm going to do at the end of this video. So that's that. As you'll be able to see, it's got fertilizer already in it. You can see little bits of fertilizer there. I don't know whether you can see that. I do add a little bit more fertilizer. I've got this pot planters for indoors. This is also a Bunnings. I just sprinkle a bit of that in as well when I add everything else, only because it expands so much. So that's the core. I'll add some water to it and mix it, and I'll show you that in a sec. All right, so I'm back now. This is the mixture all wet. You see how much it's expanded. It's so crumbly, that it's barky. It's very nice. Just on that own, that would be quite nice. But those little clumps that I had, now they're wet, like fully expanded. I've got heaps now. You see, I've probably actually done too much for a single plant. So now I'm gonna add the ingredients to it, mix it all up, and we'll have a final product in a sec. So the first ingredient is the charcoal. Just pour, and I don't measure this stuff, I just pour it in. You sort of get an idea of how you want your mixture, and you can modify it to the plant you're doing as well. Like if I'm doing a succulent, I'll add in more sand and more of the rock. But since I'm doing philodendrons, I'm just gonna make it standard. So this is the vermodikite next. Next is the perlite, and you just tip it in. Maybe do it in a ventilated area because this is powdery and you don't want to be breathing all that in. Next is, oh, I forgot bark. Next is the sand. I was going to try and scoop it with my hand, but I might just actually tip that in. Otherwise I'll be making a mess. Next is the rock. I can grab these with my hand, I'm guessing. Not like the sand, it will just fall through my fingers. I forgot bark, so let me quickly run and go grab that, and I'll chuck that in as well. I knew there was something I was forgetting. Alright, so the bark, which is just a plain pine bark, nothing special. Just helps with the aerating. Alright, so now I just mix this all together by hand. Forgot as well the fertilizer, just a little scoop of that, just like that. Once you've mixed it together, you'll sort of get an idea of if you need to add anything else to it. I usually just play around with the sand and the rock mixture, so I reckon that's enough charcoal, enough, maybe a little bit more perlite once I've got it. You get an idea of how you want it to look once you've done it a couple of times, and it's forgiving, so even if you get it a little bit wrong or wrong it all completely, you can add a little bit extra of something else to make it how you want it. It's amazing how much the peat core expands, because I only had a little bit there, and this is like a full bucket now. I could probably repot the whole shed with this amount. Alright, so looking at it at the moment, it looks alright. I do want to add a little bit more of the perlite. Dogs next door barking. I might add a little bit more of the vermodikite. And this mixture is completely up to you, how you want it to look, how much of one ingredient you want to have. This is just the way I do it. You can modify it however you want. That looks pretty good. All right, so as you can see, it's quite like easy to hold together, it clumps, and it also just crumbles. It's a very nice mixture. The roots will go through that really easy, but the peat core, which is the base of it, holds the moisture that the roots will suck up. And when put together with a clear pot, you can see just how wet it is through the pot, and gauge when you need to water your plant, so you don't end up with soggy roots and root rot. So that's the mixture there. Now I'm going to get on to potting a plant for you. I've got a pole left over from last week, which I'm also going to use. I'm not sure which plant just yet. Alright, so the first plant I'm going to transplant today is one that I've had for a little while now. I got it discounted, marked down because it had a bit of damage, or it was cut at the top. It is this ficus. How much did I get it for? $12. That's pretty good. $12 from, it doesn't have a price, so I have no idea what it was. So I'm going to take that out of its own mixture, and I'm going to put it into this mixture. I've already done this with one ficus, fiddle leaf ficus, just because, you know, we all struggle with that one. Well, not all of us, some of us are gifted. I've struggled. I've had 2 of them. The one I've got now is looking really sad. I'll show you it. Now that I've put it in my own mixture, I've got it out in my garden. I'll show you it now. So that's this. All right, so I'm going to do the same as that with this. I'm going to take it out of its mixture now. Again, recycle the mixture because I always reuse it for another plant. You just want to gently squeeze, getting it out of it loose. I reckon that's almost loose enough. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. Now I'm just going to massage the soil out of the roots. Just massaging. Try not to break any of the roots. So I've got 99% of the old soil out of the roots. The roots look pretty good. They're nice and healthy. So what I'm going to do now is get this transplanted into a new pot with my new mixture. Look how dirty that was. Alright, so the first thing I do is, again, I'll put the rocks at the bottom. I just feel this helps with the drainage. The water can come down the mixture through the rocks and out. Because I get a lot of water on the floor in here, if it was sitting flat on the ground, it would just keep soaking up all the water, where the rocks stop the plants from just sitting in water on my floor. So that's why I do it. As you can see, they just cover up the holes, which means my soil's not sitting on the ground. So when I do water in here and the water comes up like half a centimeter or so, it's not just sitting in water. Now I put down a base for the plant to sit on. I always just stick it into the pot just to gauge how tall it's going to be and where the roots are going to sit. And also I just make sure that I am going to stop the soil about here. I want to make sure that I'm not going too high, because when you water, you know, you get the stuff lift up, the mixture lift up, and you don't want to water and then have it all flow over the edge. So I always just stop right about here just to give it enough room. All right. So centering your plant in your pot, well, you don't have to center it if that's not what you want. You do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this, is it's up to you. I'm pretty happy with how that's going to sit. Actually, I might just line up the plant so it's standing straight. That's how I want it. And then you just fill up around it. Now you apply some pressure around the roots. You want to, get a little bit of pressure around them. You don't want your plant falling over. But you don't want to push it too tight that it compacts the beautiful aerated soil you've just made. That will defeat the purpose. All right, so that's my plant now in. You can see where the roots of the old plant, or where the old mixture was, the dark roots. As you water it, that will fall out and you'll eventually have like none of that old dirt in there. You could wash off the roots beforehand, I can't be bothered. Nice and firm pressure so your plant doesn't fall over. And that's it. So that's my first plant done. Now I'm going to do a plant and attach it to a pole. Alright, so the plant I've chosen is the big ears, only because I am a sucker for like big foliage, and when these grow, their leaves are long, so I'm really excited to get this one. Also because it's showing some little roots down, I don't know, little roots just there, that will be perfect for going into a pole right now. This is also already in my own mixture, so I'm going to pull it out, put it back into this pot, but with a pole. So the pole I have is from last week. That's here. It has dried out a bit more now, so I can still feel dampness in it, but it is dried. So the first thing I'm going to do is fill it with my mixture at the bottom. And this is why we keep that 10 centimeters at the bottom. All right, so now that that's full, I am going to pull this plant out of its pot. I don't have to squeeze too hard because the mixture is already quite loose. You can see the color difference from the wet to the dry. It's a lot darker when it's wet. It's already got the rocks in the bottom that I left there, so I'm going to keep them there now. All right, so the first thing is sticking this pole into the pot, just like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of plant mixture around it just to lock it in. Just like that, so it can stand on its own. Now with my plant, this is a double plant one. See, it's got one on the front there and one on the back. Big one on the back, little one at the front. So that's going to look even nicer once it grows. Just trying to break up this soil here so that I can plop it into this pot. Yep, you can see that. Getting all the roots in. It's got some beautiful white roots on there. That looks perfect to me. Now it doesn't matter if you make a mess here, because you can always get a dustpan and broom and sweep it up. Again, you're just compacting it in, not too tight. You don't want it to stop being aeratable or aerating. You pretty much just want to make it nice and firm so your plant doesn't fall over. All right, so he's now in there, looking nice and good, it's going to be nice and tall when he grows. Can't wait. So I'm just going to attach him to the pole now, and I'll show you in a moment. All right, so my plant is now on the pole, looking absolutely beautiful. He had some roots right here. 3, so 2 are sitting on the outside, 1 I got in, and thank you again for this comment. Chopsticks, very helpful. All I did was I poked a little hole in the moss, and then I just put the root straight into that hole and tied it to the plant. I mean, tied the plant to the pole. So now that root goes straight in thanks to chopsticks. So thanks for the chopstick comment. That's very, very helpful. Chopsticks for anyone that's out there that wants to, get your roots into the pole. Now I'm just going to water it and put it to the side so it gets a bit of sun, and I'll give you an update. I'm going to do an update video very shortly of all the plants, because I've already got a whole bunch that have shot roots now into the moss poles. So keep your eyes peeled for my update video coming up next. Thank you again for coming along. I'm really loving the comments, very, very helpful. Pronouncing the names, like the Tahiti, any help with pronouncing is greatly appreciated. My mum's loving the comments on her macrame. Thank you again for that. Everyone have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week. Chop chop.